the schools that pay guys a bunch when they first get there out of in recruiting, it creates an issue because you have guys come into the locker room that may be making $300,000 that haven't played a down.
Yes.
And then you have your veteran receiver who wasn't great out of high school, but maybe he's become a really good player and an important player, and he's making $100,000, and he now hears the new guy's making 300. Well, he calls someone like you up right away and says, "Hey, the new guy's making 300. I'm the starter. I should be making 350."
Yeah, and that's typically why guys leave in the spring. They feel unhappy. Yeah. They feel like they're they feel like they got taken advantage of a little bit because they were loyal. And look, we tell a lot of guys, and in the market, you can make 60-70% more going somewhere else. There's no doubt. Yeah. But what a lot of guys don't take into account is the investment into your development, the investment into the consistency in your career, and the investment in being in a system that knows you and a system that you know. Because if you leave somewhere and you go in the spring, you better make sure you catch that playbook like that, or you're not going to play in the fall, right? So it could derail a career, it could derail your progression. And a lot of people, they lose sight of the fact that when you come in somewhere as a freshman and you have the same strength coach, the same routine, the same progression throughout the course of a year, that's what gets you bigger and stronger, not going and starting a new program over every 9 months. So the development piece often gets lost in the shuffle. But, I think we've done a great job of making sure our returners understand that we're keeping our roster pretty level across the board. And if you're going to bring a dude in, I don't care what program, I don't care what coach you are, if you are going to bring a dude in that's getting paid more than everybody else, they better be a dog. Like, they better come in, do the right things, make sure that they're the same guy every day, because you may sniff it out as a coach over time, or you may sniff it out as a GM over time, but the dudes who sniff it out right away are the guys in the locker next to them. And that stuff unravels a locker room fast. And ultimately in college football, at the end of the day, if you've got older guys that perform and they perform as a unit, you can win a lot of football games, especially in the ACC as this thing continues to change. That there's big time opportunity to win games if you play as a unit.
Yeah. How do negotiations go with guys who are currently on your roster versus portal players? What are the differences?
It's the guys on your current roster, you're trying to build relationships with them throughout the course of the year. You get on them early. You start having those conversations a lot of times in October. And you really know, in my opinion, what's good and what's bad about their game, their makeup, their work ethic, all those types of things. So you're having conversations with them, and those are part of the process in the negotiation setup. So there's, in my opinion, like, sometimes you save yourself. You guys who want more money and don't necessarily put the work in every day, or don't necessarily have the same type of commitment to the program, like, that can cause issues around your locker room. So you move on, like you can go add that and you can replace that talent at a minimal cost. Now, the thing about that is the conversation about negotiations could be happening for a few weeks, could be happening for 2 months, right? We try and get on guys early, especially if we sniff it out in October that a guy's looking like they're elite, they're going to be a starter for us for 2-3 years. We try and act quick. Now, the difference with that is you may negotiate a football transfer deal. I mean, it might happen in 10 minutes. Like, that kid's visit might end, and you may jump on with an agent and be like, all right, let's go. Let's get this done. And it's it's bare knuckles. It's all held. It's all, no bars held for that short period of time, but you hone it in and you make it happen. And a lot of times, we try and make sure guys want to be here. Guys come to campus and they go through that experience. And now with adding Vince Morrow to the staff, like, Vince is him and Brady and those, like, unbelievable recruiters. They get a sense of, hey, this guy really wants to be a part of Louisville football, and that's what this is all about. When they commit, then we figure the numbers out, right? They have a range coming in, and everybody knows kind of what things are going to look like. But ultimately, like, they do a really good job on the recruiting side, to the point where kids want to play here, guys want to play at the University of Louisville. So those numbers are all, just negotiations and semantics with the agents. But typically those with transfer guys, that stuff happens quick. And in basketball, it might happen even quicker, to be honest, because it's such a competitive environment. There's not as many players. So when good players come through the pipeline, you've got to close and you got to execute. So those things might happen on the spot. Agent might meet you in the lobby trying to get a deal done on a recruiting visit. But that's what makes college athletics fun, man. It's different than pro sports. I know there's a lot of people jumping in it from the pro landscape. This is college sports is never ending, man. Like it is around the clock, year round. You're recruiting, building relationships, and you're cutting deals. And the art of the deal is what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
And it's a cool time for college sports. And I hope that coaches don't take all of the fun out of what college sports is just because there is a little bit of there's a little bit of minutia there. A lot of guys don't like the NIL space. They don't like the negotiations. They don't like that players get paid. But man, don't let it take the joy out of the when you light up your home stadium. Like, it is a ecstatic feeling,
like
and there's nothing like it. Like I remember we played Notre Dame at our place a couple years ago when we beat them at home. And man, we were good. Like we had a really good team. And I remember standing on the sideline with one of our donors when they got the pyro going off and the team's running out of the tunnel and there was not a empty seat in this place. And I just leaned over and like it took kind of like you're like a little emotional in the sense because we hadn't done a lot of winning, right? Like we had kind of had some mediocre seasons and we were grinding to get this thing back. And now you're going into the Notre Dame game undefeated. I leaned over and I said, yo, man, like this, none of this is possible without you. Like, do you look at this?
Yeah.
Like, are you looking at this place? And to see guys who have had so much success in business and in life take a look around a stadium at something they helped build and get emotional about it. Like, that's what we do it for. It's what it's all about. So I love the college sports landscape and it's only continuing to get better.
We've talked a lot about agents in their role in the whole ecosystem right now in college sports. What are the things that the best agents do? The ones that you work with and you say, man, this is a guy that should be representing more players, or a guy who really has the best interest of his players at heart?
Now, it's a great question because there's so many. There are a lot of good ones out there, man. And there's good ones that represent high-level players. They're diligent. They make sure they're following up throughout the course of the process. They make sure the line of communication is strong. They want to know exactly what you mean by everything that you say. And they want to make sure you're clear and their communication's clear on what the expectations of the athlete is. And to be honest, that makes my job really easy. Hey, there's a target. We're trying to both get a good deal out of this. And we're trying to make sure that the athlete has the pieces around them to have success when they get here. The other thing is they're honest. Like agents being honest, it's a lost art almost. Like in business, if you're a stand-up guy, typically you're going to get another opportunity. Right. So when these guys are honest, they come into the process and they say, hey, man, look, here's what we're dealing with. The kid wants to come to you, or, hey, this guy wants to go somewhere else. I love that. Okay. The kid wants to come to Louisville. Let's try and figure this thing out. Right. And a lot of times we figure it out and we come to a deal that's fair for both sides. The third piece of it is do not let, like, once the negotiation process is done, and a guy so-called commits to a school, that doesn't mean you just let them go and you don't deal with them day to day. Players shouldn't be coming to us asking for additional opportunities on top of their NIL contracts, right? They shouldn't be going to the collective looking for additional marketing opportunities. We're going to get them the stuff that we bring to them. If you're looking for a car deal that's not in the parameters of your agreement, your agent should be helping with that. If you want a card deal that's not within the parameters of your agreement, your agent should be helping with that. And that is where the best agents really come to light because they're invested in the process from start to finish. They're involved. They're talking to the athlete throughout the season saying like, hey man, these are what NFL scouts are telling us about your game. This is where you can improve. I see it in basketball. I've had agents call me and say, hey, what are you hearing? Or, hey, do you think that he could be more aggressive? And do you think he could do? And when agents call a guy and say, hey man, you got to play downhill a little bit more, coaches are telling them the same thing, right? It's just that agent is the friendly face, the friendly communicator who's saying like, hey man, you got to take it up a notch and you can score from all levels, but you got to believe in yourself and go do it. Those types of agents, I think, they're the ones that are going to have the most success over the next couple of years because you can see social media, the industry as a whole, it's evolving more and more. Guys who are with these kids throughout the course of the process, like it's going to be important to them and they're going to be the ones who monetize off it.